Hey, I'm back. It is a brand new day. It is a great day to be alive. And why is that? Because I'm a teacher, not a speaker. Continuing on from what I shared in the previous video, I was talking about natural selection. And when we talk about natural selection, we could credit Charles Darwin. He is known as the father of natural selection, also known as survival of the fit. Only the strong survive. Survival of the fit, only the strong. Gotta throw that in. When it comes to natural selection, it basically states that organisms that are best adapted for their environment are going to have an increased rate of survival and the ability to reproduce more than others. So once again, others can reproduce, but due to natural selection, the organisms that are best equipped, that are best adapted for their environment, they are going to survive and they are going to reproduce more than others. When it comes to natural selection, there are 4 steps. And the first one that I mentioned was overproduction. An organism will produce more offspring than the environment could actually handle because we know that survival is not going to be guaranteed. So as individuals, we have to keep producing. And I mentioned a sea turtle and how a sea turtle produces dozens of eggs at a time, but only a handful of those eggs will grow into a sea turtle, which could then live over 100 years. So some of the things that we produce, we may be wondering, where is it going? Why am I not getting a harvest for all the seeds that I planted? Just keep planting those seeds because it only takes one. Second one that we're focusing on is variation. There are differences within the same species, and those differences, known as variations, they could either increase survival or they could decrease survival. We as living individuals, as humans, we are, yes, 99.9% genetically identical, but due to our past experiences, due to just the environment in which we grew up and the relationships that we have, there's going to be variations regarding us. So what we need to do is identify which of those traits could be decreasing our chance of survival, and also identify and get enrichment for those traits that could increase our chances of survival. Only the strong survive. Charles Darwin spent a lot of time on the Galapagos Islands, and he identified a species of bird known as a finch. And if you go to different locations on that island or that island chain, you're gonna see that it's the same species of bird, but you're gonna notice variations. Some are gonna be lighter, some are gonna be darker. The darker finches, those are the ones that spend more time on the ground, whereas the lighter finches, those are the ones that spend more time in the trees. So there's a variation in their color. And we could also look at the beaks. Depending on what they eat, there are some that eat cacti and they have a longer, more narrow beak because obviously they don't want to poke themselves in the eye with a cactus, so they have a longer beak, whereas some of the other ones, they have maybe a shorter, more broad, stronger beak because maybe they use it for cracking hard shells or acorns, depending on what's on that side of the island. So there are different variations that serve the same species, but what were to happen if I were to switch those species or change their environment? How are they going to manage? We're talking about variation. Once again, there are differences that we have. Identify what's good. Identify what could actually be considered bad or something that will decrease our survival. They're both important. There are things that are unique to you. You are a beast. I am a beast. I am best adapted for my environment, and I'm a beast. I'm a force when I'm in my realm. It's when I get out of that realm that I feel like maybe I'm not adapted for that. That doesn't mean that you still can't thrive. Let me be clear. That still does not mean that you can't thrive. You just need to identify all of your traits and what makes you good in your environment and make it rock out, because you never know when and how things will change. Another quick example in the animal species, talking about hermit crabs, and they could all use the same type of shells, and I could have a variation of shells. There are some shells that are lighter in color, and guess what? The hermit crabs that are in the lighter shells, they blend in more with the sand. So it's more difficult for predators to pick them out. Whereas the ones in the darker shells, it's easier for predators to pick them out because obviously the darker shells are in contrast to the sand. But I'll tell you this, right now, real time, there's a blob, just a group of seaweed, like a mass of aquatic vegetation that's about 2 times the size of the United States. It's in the Atlantic Ocean right now, heading towards the coast of the United States. And that seaweed is darker in color. So what's gonna happen at any moment is that aquatic mass is gonna start rolling up on the shores. And guess what? It's dark in color. So what is that gonna do? It's gonna flip the environment. That means that the hermit crabs that found safety in their light colored shells because they blended in with the sand, guess what? When that dark vegetation rolls up, it's gonna completely change the game. So the hermit crabs with the darker shells, now they're gonna camouflage into all of that aquatic mass, and the lighter ones are gonna stand out, making it easier for predators to pick them out. So our environment will change. How do we respond to those changes? What adaptations do we have? We have to be versatile, but most importantly, we have to identify our variations. What makes us different in our species? Once we identify that, that's when we truly are naturally selected. That's when we become the kings and queens of the environment. Survival of the fit, only the strong survive. Now remember, I'm a teacher, not a speaker, and I want you to have an amazing day.